featured review time. And for a featured review, we went back to The Roadhouse. This is a remake of the 1989 film. I'm going to go first in talking about this one, tell you all about it, what I thought. Remake of the 1989 Patrick Swayze classic. Now we've got Doug Liman directing Jake Gyllenhaal. And this is a direct to Prime. So if you have Amazon Prime, you could watch this. You can watch this today. Anyways, so we've got Jake Gyllenhaal. He plays Dalton, an ex-UFC fighter who has a reputation for being this unstoppable force. He is hired by Frankie, played by Jessica Williams, who I must say, I thought the entire movie it was Ayo Adebiri, and I was shocked later to find out it was somebody else.
Slight resemblance.
Yeah, there is a definite resemblance there. Gets hired to come be a bouncer at her roadhouse, which is getting kind of sabotaged by this group of thugs, these gangsters, these people who are hired by this weird Billy Magnuson because he just wants to own the beachside property. Really white collar plot, evil genius plot there. Anyways, so he goes and he runs into a bunch of interesting folk, including Conor McGregor, who is completely off the rails here. The sheriff of the town is Joaquim de Almeida. I don't recognize the name, but you'll definitely recognize the face. It's kind of an unforgettable face. It's been in a lot of different stuff. He falls for his daughter, played by Daniela Melchior. Anyways, this movie is one of these awesomely bad movies that you just can't help but love. Like, you're watching it, you're like, this isn't a great movie, but I want to watch it again and again and again because it's just one of those entertaining movies you can throw on. Jake Gyllenhaal is having a blast in this movie. His character is amazing. The first half of the movie is definitely better than the second half when you actually get to see him in his element, doing his thing in the bar, training his bouncers in training. That's really cool. It completely goes off the rails into a save the world plot by the end of it, and stuff's exploding and boats are flying, and at that point though you don't really care anymore. You just want to see where this goes because it's just so damn fun. So 3 stars for Roadhouse. Is it actually a 3-star movie? I don't know, but I had enough fun for it to be called a 3-star movie. That's what I'm going with. So that's where I'm at with this. We're going to go to Zach next.
Yeah, so interesting movie. I feel like it's riding the coattails a little bit of Top Gun Maverick. I mean, I feel like when they pitched this movie, they must have said like, okay, everybody loved Top Gun Maverick. Everybody loves the 80s nostalgia. Let's reboot this. Let's get into libraries, let the public decide. In this case, it wasn't in theaters, unfortunately. But the problem with that is, of course, unfortunately, Patrick Swayze has died, and we're not going to use CGI Patrick Swayze, thankfully. I think Jake Gyllenhaal is a more than capable replacement for Patrick Swayze in this movie. I really like the way he looks in this movie. He looks really fit. I got some like weird Tom Brady vibes in this. Like, he's now got to be in his 40s, right? But he looks in way better shape than he was in his 20s. I don't know if he's doing the whole. Maybe he's going to Germany, and maybe he's doing the TB12 diet. Maybe he's doing avocado toast. I don't know what he's doing, but I got to say I'm a little jealous. Okay, Jake, I want to know your secrets of working out. But I gotta say, I was not looking forward to watching this movie. I think we should clarify, everyone except for Terry on this podcast is relatively too young to remember Roadhouse. I'm sure Terry saw it in theaters when it came out. So we're not really familiar with the original that well.
Never seen the original, by the way.
Yeah, me neither. So we're not maybe the right people to assess it, although maybe we are the right people because I'm guessing this movie was trying to get not just get the nostalgia, but also get the people who maybe aren't familiar with it. I had a blast watching this movie. I got to be honest. It was really ridiculously fun, way better than it should have been. Now, here's the thing, okay? I'm a sucker for some things in life. One thing I'm a sucker for is body swap movies. Okay, make a body swap movie. I'm going to give that shit thumbs up. I like every single body swap movie. Here's another thing that I'm a sucker for that this movie had. I'm a sucker for movies where the main character is so much better at the thing that he or she is an expert at that everybody just gives up. Okay, in the opening scene of this movie, Jake Gyllenhaal is challenged to a fight, and instead of showing the fight, the other fighter just bows out because he knows automatically.
The other fighter, played by Post Malone, by the way.
Played by Post Malone, coming off of his Super Bowl performance. Post Malone just throws in the towel, quite literally. I love that. That is a great way to introduce the character. And I gotta say, Jake Gyllenhaal, I watching especially the first hour, because I agree with Terry. I think the first hour is better than the second hour. Watching the first hour of this movie, I really struggled to think of other actors that could realistically play that role, except Patrick Swayze. But Patrick Swayze apparently did a very different kind of role in the original Roadhouse. Jake Gyllenhaal is like, he's on something in this movie. He's super nice to everybody. He drives the people that he kicks their asses. He drives them to the hospital, which is 25 minutes away. I love the idea of a bouncer movie. We need more bouncers in movies, okay? We got Bud, that's it. What other great bouncers have we had in movie history? Todd, I'm sure.
Craig Robinson and Knocked Up.
I answered some of the questions. I know. But I'm just saying we need more of them, okay? More bouncer movies, because that's a great plot in this movie. I love the Roadhouse itself. I mean, I think that's a great setting for apparently the original movie was set in Missouri, but I think this is a cool setting for this movie. It had some real replacement plan vibes to it. I expected Nicolas Cage to be
retirement plan. You're never going to get the title right.
Go up on a beach somewhere like a beached whale. Nicolas Cage probably could have played this role in the early 90s.
This is totally a Cager.
It really should have been a Cager. I like the cast in this, but we're going to talk about cast chemistry. I think this is a solid cast chemistry movie. It kind of looks like the cast of GTA San Andreas. A lot of Hawaiian shirts in this movie. Now, I will say that I also like the idea of a person going this superhuman freak show who can just protect everybody, protecting vulnerable people. I like that in movies. I like The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance and Man on Fire and Straw Dogs. I like vulnerable people being protected. I think that's a good trope in a movie. And then we got Conor McGregor, and we have to talk about Conor McGregor. He's pulling a John Cena with his nudity in this movie. He is an early front runner, I think, for minor character Pino. I don't know if he's doing that on purpose, if he knows that he's doing the minor character Pino award, but I think he's really in contention. We have a Best Supporting Actor nominee that is also in that same vein that we're going to hopefully award later. But I love what Conor McGregor is doing, even if I don't love him as a human being. The CGI is terrible in this movie. I don't know why there had to be explosions and cars crashing into the roadhouse and boats and shit. That got a little bit on my nerves, and I wish the movie had just stuck to good old-fashioned fistfights. But as it is, this is a fun movie. I gotta say, I kind of had a blast watching it, and I can't believe I'm gonna say this. It's my number one of 2024 so far. It is a solid 3-star movie that I want to give 3.5 stars. Can't quite do it, but for a good portion of it, I was at 3.5. I think it's a real blast.
Nice.
I will say, I was telling my wife about this movie, and I was telling her the plot, and I said, yeah, and Jake Gyllenhaal's the lead, and she said, does that work? And I said, and I showed her a picture of him, and she goes, okay, I can see that working. And it was kind of the whole thing of like, yeah, how is he going to be fit enough and buff enough to actually pull that off? And I heard someone else that had watched it say that Conor McGregor was given like the best entrance of any character so far this year. Just his opening scene and his introduction was,
yes,
yeah, it was awesome. Todd, where are you at?
This movie is basically an R-rated step-up movie, because I think fight movies and dance movies are pretty much the same movie. Like, the dance movies appeal to the females because the sweaty macho dudes are dancing, and fight movies, the sweaty macho dudes are beating the shit out of each other. And it's kind of one of those. And the original movie, which is like perfectly average 80s garbage, like they have the blueprint for what they do here, but they changed it a little bit. And it's better than that because Gyllenhaal wants it to be better than that, I think. Like, I mean, I was hoping for a little bit more of like Ditto Montiel's fighting with with Channing Tatum, which is a good movie. But the actors are at least having a good time in this. I like Post Malone in this. Jessica Williams is awesome. She was in one of my top 10 of 2017, called The Incredible Jessica James. She's great. She needs her own like prestige project at some point. Conor McGregor, I don't know. He acts like English isn't his first language. I don't know. Is it his first language?
Irish.
There is an Irish language.
There is.
Irish
but,
is his first language, which is barely English.
Yeah, I don't know. It's bizarre. I couldn't tell what he was doing. But Gyllenhaal is a fascinating actor. He is maybe the next Nicolas Cage, because I think he wants to be. Like, very few actors in the world are as consistently inconsistent and interested in lackluster material and almost method their way through like self-aware movies the way that Gyllenhaal does and the way that Nicolas Cage used to. And I don't know. I mean, a former serious actor who is now definitely not that, but he still acts like he is, and he is capable of doing great things. He puts himself in this, and I think his Pinot in 2022 that he won for Ambulance absolutely deserved. And this just shows, yeah, maybe he is our next Nick Cage. But Roadhouse is satisfying, like, sorta. The characters are so dumb that it's almost endearing. It's entertaining, but it reduces itself to the stupidity of its characters too much. I'm giving it 2.5 stars just because I'm never going to watch this movie again. And I probably won't think about this movie again unless they like extraction this shit and make a sequel or whatever. And it probably will come back in my mind at some point. But yeah, it's 2.5 stars. I can't give it 3 stars. But I mean, I guess it's not all that far removed from some trashy 3-star movies. But this isn't COVID anymore. I don't need to do that.
Oh wow.
If Gyllenhaal wins Best Cage Performance this year, do we just like retire him and say he's no longer eligible for the award?
Could be 2 wins in that category.
I know. All right, Adam.
Like Nicolas Cage should not be. He should be retired from highest war going forward.
What do you think, Adam?
All right, this was a blast, man. The biggest downfall about this movie and the biggest like controversy coming into this weekend with this film was that it did not get that theatrical release that it probably should have. I think it would have been pretty awesome to see on the big screen. And while I hear a lot of the issues with like the why is it so big explosion, this movie made me want to go back and watch 1989's Roadhouse for the first time. So I did a double feature of it, and it was a lot of fun. This one is by far better than the original one. The one big thing that I wish this new version had that the original did have, there was a character in it played by Sam Elliott in the original one, where there was a choice. Like, you basically leave this town or there's going to be a heads or tails coin flip of who dies. It's the actor, the leading lady that he likes, or this other character that's not in this movie. So that was a fascinating little element to the Dalton character that wasn't in this one. So, but in the original one, there was a guy running stuff over with a big monster truck. There was a lot of explosions in that. The fight sequences.
We were just running stuff over with Conor McGregor.
Yeah, that is true. There was in the original Patrick Swayze one, there was a straight out of Rambo that he literally rips a guy's esophagus out of off his neck, like in that film. So there was some crazy stuff was happening in that 80s version. This is your dad's favorite 80s movie, essentially. But Roadhouse, this new version, is a lot of fun. The Post Malone stuff, you don't bring Post Malone in and not have him show up in the finale. That's what I was thinking the entire time, because that's what they did in the Netflix film Spencer Confidential with my boy Winston Duke and Mark Wahlberg. He showed up in that film at the beginning and he showed up at the end. So I was expecting, Carter's character to come back. Conor McGregor, fascinating. You guys talked enough ad nauseum about him, but Jake Gyllenhaal here is just having a blast, and I wish we would have seen this in theater, because I think that would have been awesome. And Doug Liman, again, he's also very inconsistent filmmaker at times. He has some like really fun, flashy films. He has some really good ones like The Bourne Identity, and then he has like these really under the radar movies that are like don't get talked about, like The Wall with John Cena and Aaron Taylor Johnson. But then he like makes some really bad decisions with some of the projects he does take on. But overall, this is a really fun film that I thoroughly enjoyed. This is my wife's #1 movie of the year as well, so she thoroughly enjoyed it. So it's a fun time, and it's streaming for free. Both of them are streaming free on Amazon, so go watch both of them. The original Roadhouse is 2.5 stars movies because it's still good, but I can't get it. It's not as entertaining, but still good.
Yeah, I think this is might have been Doug Liman's most self-aware movie. Like you could tell, like he was trying to make an awesomely bad movie here, and he's had some movies like Mr. and Mrs. Smith kind of had a slightly similar vibe, Edge of Tomorrow a little bit, but this is the first time he's like gone full out. Like I am fully aware of exactly what I'm doing here, and just kind of go balls out and see what happens.
Oh, I was just going to say, so I kind of want to push back on what Terry says a little bit. I don't think this movie is that like self-aware. Like I think it's actually a fairly sincere movie in a lot of ways. The retirement plan. I got to get the wording right. That was a movie that definitely winked at the camera a little bit. This movie, I don't know. I don't know if it totally does. I mean, there's some outrageous stuff, but even in this movie, listen, there's a scene where a crocodile eats someone, and that's a pretty low key scene, and it isn't really done in a real over the top way. The
they were never going to find that body. Crocodiles hide their food.
Exactly.
He ate my dog.
The special effects in this movie are pretty bad. I'm not sure why Doug Liman felt the need to do special effects. Maybe it's because, he was a director like 30 years ago and thought that CGI is still a fascinating new world. Yeah. I mean, I think he's kind of in the older mode of someone who just wants to do a bunch of CGI. And I don't think has Doug Liman seen like a lot of recent movies that don't use CGI and look the better for it? I don't think so. I think he's someone who's kind of caught up in the past a little bit.
My eyes hear Oppenheimer. That's what I think he described.
There's no Al Pacino in this movie either, which I kind of like. I don't know. I listen. I mean, maybe I'm stupid, okay? But like, I was like into this movie in the first hour. Like, I felt really bad for the Roadhouse. I felt bad for the owner of the Roadhouse, Frankie. I thought that make that a soundbite. That his rapport with the Ellie character, the doctor, was really good. I like this movie. In fact, I don't think it's not too fine-tuned away from like actually being a serious movie. But the thing that works about it best is like, I love when those guys are in the Roadhouse starting shit up, and that Gyllenhaal is going to beat the shit out of them. Now you don't always know how. Right, he's even got a little like Pai Mei 5-point palm heart exploding technique thing that he does later in the movie. He breaks the guy's finger, which is entertaining. It isn't always the same Steven Seagal, Jean-Claude Van Damme bullshit. Okay, he does a lot of different stuff, and again, his kind of slender build is interesting too. Like that's why I think like, okay, you know what, Channing Tatum might have been able to do this, but I think he's, you're intimidated when you see Channing Tatum. Jake Gyllenhaal, he's just this guy. He's like what 160 pounds it looks like. He's very slender. You don't think of it. And he's got this stupid sheepish grin on his face. Like he's definitely playing a really interesting character that you don't see a lot in a lot of action movies. So I give him props for that. The movie becomes indulgent at the end, but with a ridiculous double crossing with a kidnapping, and that's out of a lesser movie. Come on, Doug Liman. But up until that point, like it's a pretty unique movie, and I especially like that it's getting shit on so much by the older baby boomers like Terry. The Gen Zers out there are going to like this movie. Just give it a chance, and you'll have a great time. And shame on Todd for giving this 2.5 stars. Shame on you, Todd. Shame on you, brother. I mean, come on, it is a blast. This movie needs to be quad approved.
No, it's just closer to 2 stars than 2.5 stars, or to 3 stars. So I can't just agree with you guys.
All right. Well, we are thrice approved. The problem is we do have 4 people here right now, but I give it 3 stars. Zach gives it 3 stars. Adam gives it 3 stars. Todd gives it 2.5. It is on Prime. It is
fun,
so it's easy to find. It's a fun watch. Check it out if you need to waste 2 hours.